Well, good morning. Welcome to a voters meeting, kind of. This year, because of COVID, obviously, we've had to do some things differently. Actually, quite a lot of things that we've done differently. And one of the things that we had to deal with was how do we have a voters meeting in November when the virus is surging, but we have critical business to deal with in our church. And so what the council finally decided as we talked through it is that we're going to take this voters meeting virtual in a sense. And we're going to use the month of November to present the budget information to you using this mechanism online on screen. And we'll have an opportunity to collect whatever questions you may have. And then next week, the 22nd, we will present the questions that you have given to us and the answers to them and give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have in person. So we want to have an opportunity for you to have seen the budget, to have seen the slate of candidates, to have seen the worship schedule, and to think about that as you work through your budget response on the ballot. So what I'm going to ask, I've got Bonnie Gust and John Jenkins here with me on the Zoom call that we're recording to show you. I'm going to ask Bonnie to start by giving us a recap of how things went financially in 2020, and then John's going to walk us through our proposed budget for 2021, okay? So let me turn it over to you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Pastor. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I've missed you. I haven't gotten to do one of these this year, so hopefully you've seen the financials that we did get to send out earlier in the year, but I did want to go over October year to date, and then I will hit just the projected, where do I think the year is going to land based on everything that I'm seeing, and then I'll hand it over to John. I'm sorry I don't have a report in front of you, but it's the usual format. So cash is strong at $75,600. We've had a good year from income. So our income is greater than expense by $6,200, which is better to the budget by $7,400. And I just can't talk about how amazing that is in a time like COVID. We've moved over to online giving, which has been incredibly popular. And I would put a plug in if you're not doing online giving or you have questions. We've had questions around parishioners being charged for something. It should be free unless you choose the credit card option. But I have mine taken out every Thursday, and I don't have to worry about coming in and dropping it off at church or remembering it on Sunday morning. So I kind of put a plug in for that. It's super easy to do, but if you have questions, Pastor, I would be more than happy to help you answer those or help you enroll. So income is a little bit worse than budget. It's only $2,200 worse, but because we're controlling expenses by $7,300, which you would expect, we are in very good financial shape. I would tell you we've had a couple of months that were pretty low in giving, and we've made those up. And I expect the year to finish out strong from an income perspective. So that's terrific. So I said expenses are lower by $7,300. So we had a savings from the mortgage of almost $7,000 because we got forgiveness on that due to COVID. So that was wonderful work on John's part to go and get that for us. And we've had questions as to what happens with that. Well, it goes into the balloon payment later. So no concerns with not having made those couple of payments this year. Compensation is lower by $5,800. Most of that is reimbursements. Less conferences, less mileage, less continuing ed, less entertainment. So that is also due to COVID. Trustees are coming in just about on budget, and that is because they did all the wonderful painting in the church. We were finally able to get that done, and it looks really great. And then we did need to spend some unbudgeted expense for our new computers, our new church computer software. For full transparency, we've done a lot of things that are digital this year, and for us to be in this good a shape with new church software, I needed to upgrade the treasurer software. We had to go and get a subscription to Zoom, and we've had to go get equipment. So I think it's been amazing that it's only ended up being about $2,000 over what we had in the budget. So that is October year to date. Pastor, if you would pull up the budget sheet that we put in the packets. And I want to just talk about the year to go. Thank you. So I want to talk about the year to go. So right now, October, we're in really good shape, right? And that's much better than budget. If you go to the projected full year 2020 column, this is where I attempt to predict with my crystal ball what where we're going to end up, and I am predicting that we're going to end up the year just a little over $7,500 with income greater than expense, which is fantastic. It may end up, in years past, it's ended up, we have a surge at the end and we end up with even more, which would be great. Because, when we come out of COVID, there will be expenses that we'll need to spend. So it doesn't hurt to put a little bit more into the savings account to take care of some of that. With that, I'm going to hand it over to John to talk about our proposed budget that the council is proposing to you.
Good morning, brothers and sisters at Holy Trinity. I want to touch just a little bit before I go down line by line on the 2021 budget. The stewardship drive that was just completed. Just a big thank you to all of you for turning in those pledges, because it sure helped make Bonnie and I and the council's job easier. You came in very strong this year, stronger than last year. So again, I want to say thank you on that. And I'll walk you through the 2021 proposed budget now. And as you look to the far right-hand column there on the draft budget, you'll see where we're projecting total income to be at $510,000 for 2021. So you can see the significant increase of what what the stewardship drive was telling us. Total compensation will go up as expected, and that will be in the $286,000 range. Missions, we increased also. District asked us for a little bit additional, and since the pledges were strong, we did go ahead and add some additional mission budget in there. Outreach at $4,250. Outreach, we don't know how soon we can break loose from this COVID thing and start doing some of the things that we normally do for outreach. But at this point, that's where that line item is budgeted for. And teaching God's word is up because we do expect at some point we will break loose from this, and we will need more material for Sunday school and service worship and things like that. The youth it remains the same at 7,500. We did not have to do anything at this point with that. I don't think there's no national meeting this year, so that'll be for the following year. Aids of worship, the staff continues to work on those expenses, continue to work on the copier lease and stuff to reduce that. And so that budget is budgeted down from this last year, about $3,000. The mortgage, you can see the difference there, as Bonnie touched on that, what we saved in interest, I guess it was, that we didn't have to pay the interest part for 3 months. So that was a savings that we got there. That's back to normal amount that it would be for the next couple of years. I think May of 2023 is the next time that we have to refinance our balloon payment. And the maintenance, as she talked about, the trustees were about right on target, and we adjusted that a little bit, but that's still at the same rate that we were at for 2021. So all in all, a total expense $510,000, and our income at $510,000. We have a balanced budget proposed to you all for approval. And
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. So I want to quick walk you through you're going to be getting a packet in the mail, and there will be one envelope, one packet sent to each voter. And a voter, just to remind you from what our Constitution says, a voter is a confirmed member of the congregation who is 18 years or older. So that's what you'll be seeing in your mailbox coming within the next few days. There's 4 items really in that packet. The first one is you're going to get a letter that just kind of gives you an outline, some of the information that you've heard here in a little bit more detail through that. Gives you some information about the items that are on the ballot that you need to weigh in on, and some information about what we're asking you to do next. You'll also get a copy of the budget. That information that we had on the screen a minute ago, you'll have a copy of that so that you can review it. You'll get a copy of the proposed worship schedule for 2021, because as is our practice, we ask you to please approve that going forward. And then the last thing you'll get is a ballot. Now, there are 4 items on the ballot that you'll need to respond to. The first one is a little bit weird, sort of. We have a couple of folks who are up for leadership positions this year who have agreed to serve a 4th term. Now, according to our Constitution, the terms are limited to 3 terms in a row, unless the congregation approves it. So what we're asking you to do is to give that official approval for those 2 folks who will go into a 4th term this year. And that's a separate ballot item for you to vote yes or no on. The second item on the ballot then is to say that you approve the slate of nominees for leadership positions within the church. We'd ask you to look through that. I'd ask you to stop for a moment and pray for everybody who's on that list. A prayer of thanksgiving that they were willing to serve, a prayer for God's wisdom and guiding and strengthening for them for the task that they're about to take on. And then to tell us, if you approve or disapprove of that slate. The third item is about the budget specifically, and that's your opportunity to weigh in and to approve or disapprove of the budget as it has been presented and proposed to you. And then the last item is to vote for approving that worship schedule that you'll have a copy of in your packet. That basically lays out all the different special worship services throughout the year. One comment about the worship schedule. As you look at it, there's a caveat at the top that says everything is subject to COVID. And I think it's kind of the caveat we've lived under for the last however many months. But I have tried, and the elders with me have tried to put together a schedule that assumes that COVID is not all over us next year. And so we're planning with hope in our future to get back to a more normal kind of worship schedule. So my prayer, of course, is that we get to follow this schedule exactly as we presented it, but know that we're going to do what's reasonable and prudent as we go forward. So that's the information that we want you to have. Keep an eye out for that packet to come in the mail. Here's what we're going to do next. We're going to ask that if you have any questions about any of this, about the budget, about the slate of candidates, about the worship schedule, or anything else, get those questions to me or to any member of the council, and we will share those and we'll compile responses to your questions. Next week on the 22nd, we will present that Q&A for the questions that you have asked, but we will also give you an opportunity to ask any questions in person that may have come up as we've been through our discussion. So that'll give you an opportunity to just sort of poke and prod and make sure you really understand what it is that you're voting on. Then the last thing is that we ask that you return this ballot to the church office, either in person or throw it in the mail, by the end of the month. And we're going to take all of those ballots then at the end of the month. We will tally them up and we'll share the results with you in early December. So again, it's a different way to deal with the voters' assembly, but I think this gives us an opportunity to get as many people as possible involved and participating in that process. And that's certainly what we want to do. So with that, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you, John, and thank you, Bonnie, so much for your time and for helping out with the presentation and for all the work that you guys put into this. I know that you have spent a considerable amount of time making this puzzle fit together. So thank you to both of you and to everyone who had a role in it. We're going to leave it at that. God bless you all, and give us any questions that you might have. Thanks.